I have to give you a little parable here, and I hope you can kind of grab the full meaning of it. By the way, I'm Neil Johnson, Neil of the North. If you're new to the channel, here I'm gonna just make a couple quick adjustments here. But if you're new to the channel, yes, I'm Neil Johnson, Neil of the North, and this is a channel about free and independent living. And I live off grid, and so we talk about that. We also talk about, we do talk some political issues, more in the realm of freedom, free enterprise, a little bit of history, some things of that nature, but also farmers, farming, tractors, cows, chickens, bears. Oh my, folks. But I got to give you a parable, and this comes out of farming. Good morning, Uric. And so good to see somebody on. I see a few likes on there. If you're coming in, please hit that like button just so I can see it. For some reason, the people on lags behind likes. So initially, I always have more likes than I have people on, and then it changes, and it's really odd. So good morning, Herb and Michelle. Good to see you folks on. I'm just going to let this build for a quick minute, and then we will get right into it. But I have a really fascinating parable here. But before we get into that, I'll give you a little bit of a read from the Bible. And it shows the actual power of government officials. Jesus before Pilate. This is John 18. Then the Jewish leaders took Jesus from Caiaphas to the palace of the Roman governor. By now it was early morning, and to avoid ceremonial uncleanness, they did not enter the palace because they wanted to be able to eat the Passover. Here they are bringing the Son of God, to be murdered, and they're worrying about being able to eat the Passover and being ceremonially unclean. So Pilate came out to them and asked, "What charges are you bringing against this man?" "If he were not a criminal," they replied, "we would not have handed him over to you." Pilate said, "Take him yourself and judge him by your own law." "But we have no right to execute anyone." This took place to fulfill what Jesus had said about the kind of death he was going to die. Pilate then went back inside the palace, summoned Jesus, and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "Is that your own idea?" Jesus asked. "Or did the others talk to you about me?" "Am I a Jew?" Pilate replied. "Your own people and chief priests handed you over to me. What is it you have done?" Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jewish leaders. But now my kingdom is from another place." "You are a king then," said Pilate. Jesus answered, "You say I am a king. In fact, the reason I was born and came into the world is to testify of the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me." "What is truth?" retorted Pilate. With this, he went out again before the Jews. "I find no basis to charge against him, but it's your custom to release," and then it goes into the whole Barabbas thing. One of the other things is, do you realize that Pilate actually thought he was going to, that he had power over Jesus? Arifa, I will not be at the Capitol today. So my family is returning home today, so I'm waiting for them. He thought he had power over Jesus, the Son of God. But here, let's get into the parable that I wanted to talk to you about today. I just wanted to let that build for a quick minute before I did this. Folks, I have cattle. I keep cows. Not a lot. I just more of a subsistence farmer. But the first cow I ever bought was a calf, and it was a dairy calf. And I don't know if many of you know, but when you're dairy farming, you don't keep bulls, okay? Save one for breeding. But steers are not part of the equation. You just simply get rid of the calves because you want the milk from the cows. So anyways, someone was selling this dairy calf. I bought it. Now, just like humans, cows do much better on mother's milk, okay? So that whole statement, the breast is best, that really is true. They always try to convolute that. There are times when women aren't able to breastfeed their babies and whatnot, but it really is true that God's design and his way is the best way of doing things. Anyhow, moving along. We bought this dairy calf, and so they don't get as many disease-fighting mechanisms if they're not on the mother's milk. Well, I had this calf, we named him Bob. Bobby, whatever. And he was a healthy looking, really friendly guy. We really liked him. Okay. And thank you, CJ. And so we were, feeding it this supplemental stuff that's not milk, kind of like formula, right? And anyhow, he looked really good. Then one of the calves, my son had bought one as well, and the health started declining, and it was really weird. He was just laying around, and then it died. And then mine ended up dying. Well, we did cut him open and try and figure out what was going on. And the liver, we cut into the liver, and it had all these tunnels in it. I mean, just like literally tunnels throughout the liver. And because someone had talked to us about something called liver flukes. And liver flukes, they're a parasite. Now, if you know anything about parasites, they don't want to kill the host because they feed off the host while it's alive, okay? And as a result, I think it weakened the immune system and it succumbed to other things. Now they can get, some liver diseases or jaundice or enlarged livers, things like that. But it didn't have any of this. The liver looked fine outside of the fact that it had all these tunnels through it. But what happens is the mother's milk will provide natural immunities. And so even though, the other cows obviously have had liver flukes because they're around here, they go through like 3 parasitical hosts, through fish, through all this stuff anyways, and then they live in the water in this larva stage, and then when the cows ingest it, it gets into the liver, and then the parasite, which is the fluke, eats the liver by tunneling through it, and so on. But anyhow, what I want to tell you folks this morning is as you think about this, and I did a video over on Locals where I get into a more explanatory piece about this, but really, we are at a time, folks, if you look around, things can look healthy on the outside. People are still living in their homes. Unless you're in San Francisco or you're in Portland, things look relatively healthy. But there is a parasite that is infecting our nation, okay? Much like a fluke tunneling through the liver. And it is weakening us, okay? Now, I don't know if you folks all saw what's going on over in Australia. I'm not just talking about the kids in the stadium, but also today the basically like the weird dystopian ads for the camps that they're creating, and for an unarmed populace, folks, you need to understand that they are unarmed over there in Australia. Okay, they gave up their right to bear arms. We can't ever do that. That's how the government is able to get out, because then they have armed Gestapo units basically coming in. But that parasite is growing, and we have to stand up against it, okay? Government overreach and all that. And a lot of times the government acts like the people are the parasites. But that's quite simply not the case, because the real looters and robbers, the parasites, if you will, are those who view us as batteries to power their goals. Okay, and they are nothing, folks. They are nothing without us. We are more important than they are. Okay, and I want you to understand that. So these folks, they don't. But now it seems that it's almost beyond that. Okay, so although the parasites. Good morning, and good morning. Oh yeah, who forgot to give me a thumbs up? Yeah, it's one off. I got 22 on and 21 of these. Anyways, thanks for pointing that out. But anyhow, the parasitical flukes are those in the government, and I want you people to understand that we can rout these parasites out. We just need to stand strong together. Okay. We really need to. If we want to maintain our freedom, we have got to stand strong together. Otherwise, we are going to lose it, because there is no plan other than you. Thanks, Michelle, for hitting that like. There's no plan other than you, okay? You and your prayers and your action are the only plan we have to avoid. And people, I want you to remember, there's been a lot of wins along the way. And I think people forget this. There are a lot of things people told us would never happen, and they've happened. Faith without works is dead, folks. Okay, we don't just sit back and pray and sit on our hands. No, we pray and we act. Waiting on the Lord is not waiting like sitting around waiting. Waiting on the Lord is trusting in the Lord, and faith without works is dead. So that faith, okay, plays forth in how you trust and how you act. And when you act in faith and you act in trust, that is when you're putting forth the work. And faith without works is dead. And I want you people to think about all the things we were told would never happen, okay? Would never happen. All the ways in which, things were just, the world was coming to an end and all that. And I see this in chats on my other channel. People always, that'll never happen. You know, the deep state is controlling and yeah. Don't listen to those people. They're designed to discourage. And I think a lot of them are just trolls planted within chat rooms to suppress things and to get you down. You cannot let them get you down, okay? Do not let it happen, folks. Faith without works is dead. I'm going to go back here and give you another little bit of Bible that I think will really help you out here this morning. Give me just a second. That's Jude. We're not in the right spot yet. Okay, I'm close, folks. I am close, okay? Just give me a sec. Okay, here it is. You guys ready for this? Are you ready? Let me know you're ready, because this is good stuff I'm going to give you here. This is absolutely one of my favorites, okay? And I can't hear this enough, okay? There, I'm going to plug this in. Thank you, Rick. Hopefully that does. All right, CJ Talks is ready. Everybody else ready? Okay, here we go. Now, faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. This is what the ancients were commended for. By faith, we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what is visible. Folks, you need to understand that what is not seen is often more valuable than what is seen. That is back in Isaiah, I think it's like 41, that the unseen is more real than the seen, okay? By faith, Abel brought God a better offering than Cain did. By faith, he was commended as righteous when God spoke well of his offerings. And by faith, Abel still speaks, even though he is dead, okay? By faith, Enoch was taken from this life so that he did not experience death. He could not be found because God had taken him away. For before he was taken, he was commended as one who pleased God. And without faith, it is impossible to please God. Okay, it's impossible. Folks, it's impossible. If you don't have faith, if you're not, and what is faith without works is dead. Oh gosh, I love this book. I just love it because it is just so convicting. It is convicting me right now, okay? This book is the greatest book ever written, hands down, and when you read it, you will get so inspired, and it all ties back together, okay? Oh my word. Without faith, it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who diligently seek him. Folks, if you don't believe that, you won't act. You won't act on faith because you'll just sit on your butt. Okay? And you'll go, woe is me, like these people in the chat rooms. Oh, no, they're winning. Shut up. Okay? They are not. Okay? Because what is unseen is more real than what is seen, folks. We have got to come together on this. Oh. By faith, Noah, there was no one like Noah. It says that in the Bible, Noah. Can you imagine, folks? For over 100 years, building an ark in a hostile land with nobody else who believes and everybody insulting you. You don't think Noah took lots of insults? I'm sure he took them every single stinking day, folks. These people did not believe. It had not rained, okay? I actually believe that Noah built the ark, that the flood did occur, and you can know that by geological formations, even ex post facto. If you want to be the scene, you can still see that because it's right there in the Grand Canyon with the layers and the sedimentary layers and how that all formed. There's no way that took billions and billions of years, folks. Okay, I don't have time to get into all that, but I'm telling you, you study geology, you will know that it was by a flood, and you have to be a moron who's covering his eyes and not being even willing to see the scene to go through that whole thing. Okay. Sorry, I'm worked up. By faith, Noah, when warned about things not yet seen, in holy fear, built an ark to save his family. By his faith, he condemned the world and became the heir of righteousness that is in keeping with faith. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. By faith, he made his home in the promised land, like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs with him for the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and builder is God. And by faith, even Sarah, who was past childbearing age, was enabled to bear children because she considered him faithful who made the promise. And so from this one man, and he, as good as dead, came descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as countless in the sands and the seashore. Folks, have you seen my pictures there of the night sky? As countless as the stars in the sky, okay? Oh, folks, light up that chat. I know I'm not catching all the comments, but chat amongst yourselves about this, because it does help with spreading this message out there. And I think this is an important message. I hope you agree. I'm not going to be paying a lot of attention because I'm reading and I'm getting excited as I read. So, but please do light up the chat, say amen or something. All these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only, this is so important. Listen, did you catch that? Did you catch that? Oh, all these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. People who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country they had left, they would have had opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. By faith, Abraham, when God tested him, offered Isaac as a sacrifice. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Okay. I'm not reading a commentary book about Hebrews 11. I'm just reading the book. Anyhow, where are we at? Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. By faith, he had, I guess any commentary is just mine as I'm reading it. It just comes to me. He had embraced the promises. He who had embraced the promises was about to sacrifice his one and only son, even though God had said to him, it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. So folks, understand this. He's called to lay Isaac on a sacrificial fire, okay? But he understood and he had faith in the promise, okay? The promise of God. He knew God promised him that the promise would come through who? Isaac, okay? So he carried it right up to the last second, knowing that God would save his son, even if he had to resurrect him, because he was a good God and he believed in the promises of God. Okay, you got to catch that part of the whole Abraham-Isaac story. Okay, Abraham reasoned that God, oh, there it is, could even raise the dead. So in a manner of speaking, he did receive Isaac back from death. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau in regard to their future. By faith, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed each of Joseph's sons and worshipped as he leaned on the top of his staff. By faith, Joseph, when his end was near, spoke about the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt and gave instructions concerning the burial of his bones. By faith, Moses, parents hid from him for 3 months after he was born, because they saw he was no ordinary child, and they were not afraid of the king's edicts. By faith, Moses, when he had grown up, refused to be known as the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose to be mistreated along with the people of God rather than enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin. He regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ as greater value than the treasures of Egypt, because he was looking ahead to his reward. By faith he left Egypt, not fearing the king's anger. He persevered because he saw him who is invisible. Again, folks, invisible. The invisible oftentimes is more real than the visible. I saw something about the King James. I read from all kinds of different, what am I reading from right now? This is an NIV. Which I don't tend to do the NIV as much, but it is, But every single Bible in translation, folks, you know, if we knew the actual Greek, then we would be doing better with it. Some words are not as transferable, and so I've got oh my gosh, my pastor uses the Passion Bible a lot. I utilize I use the ESV Study Bible mostly. That's the one I use most. So. But there is nothing like reading the Psalms out of King James. In fact, I just can't hardly read the Psalms in any other way because it's so much more poetic in the King James. But I digress. Okay, where was I at? Okay, feeding pleasures of sin, of greater value treasure. Okay, by faith he left Egypt, not fearing the king's anger, he persevered. By faith he kept the Passover in the application of the blood so that the destroyer of the firstborn would not touch the firstborn of Israel. By faith the people passed through the Red Sea as on dry land, but when the Egyptians tried to do so, they were drowned. Okay. By faith, the walls of Jericho fell after the army had marched around them for 7 days. By faith, the prostitute Rahab, because she welcomed the spies, was not killed with those who were disobedient. Okay. And what more shall I say? I do not have time to tell about Gideon, Barak, Samson. Look at that. Folks, do you realize Samson, for all his flaws, just made the Hall of Fame of Faith here in Hebrews 11 because he never, folks, he prayed to God right at the end and he was given the strength to crush the Philistines, more in death than he had in life. Okay? Yeah, you can be, you people need to hear this and I need to hear this. You can screw up, okay? And God still takes you back because he is a good father. One of the most amazing things is when you hold your first kid. And I remember when I held my first son, Isaiah, and we had lost one baby before that, but at about 20 weeks along in the pregnancy. But when I held, you get to play co-creator with God, and there is that creation love, that complete transfer of affection that is absolutely unbelievable. And it floods you, it overpowers you, okay? And all of a sudden, I'm looking at my son, and I would do anything for him. If he was on the other side of a river, and the river was infested with crocodiles, and I had to get there to save him, I'd beat off those crocodiles, okay? But anyhow, that's the kind of love God has for us, but it's more profound than that. It's more profound than the love that we can give. Anyhow, Barak, Samson, and Jephthah, about David and Samuel and the prophets, who through faith conquered kingdoms, administered justice, and gained what was promised, who shut the mouths of lions, quenched the fury of flames, and escaped the edge of the sword, whose weakness was turned to strength, and who became powerful in battle and routed foreign armies. Women received back their dead, raised to life again. There were others who were tortured, refusing to be released so that they might gain an even better resurrection. Some faced jeers and flogging and even chains and imprisonment. They were put to death by stoning. They were sawn in two. They were killed by the sword. They went about in sheepskins and goatskins, destitute, persecuted, and mistreated. The world was not worthy of them. That is one of my favorite lines in scriptures. In the scripture. My favorite Bible verse is, I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as wise as serpents and innocent as a dove. Okay? And you do know, people, that right now, and I saw a video of this, it was horrendous. Actually, I threw my phone down when it started. You could see it all coming. But right now, the Taliban is executing people over there. And, you know, Joey gave them the list. Yeah, our government gave them the list so they could find them. It sucks. And the world's not worthy of them. These were all commended for their faith, yet none of them, this is what's so important, folks, I want you to understand. These were commended for their faith, yet none of them received what had been promised, since God had planned something better for us, so that only together with us would they be made perfect. The reward did not come here, folks. They looked to the heavenly reward, and they kept their eyes on that. So, even if we don't see the end we want here, we still, folks, we still act in faith. We still act in faith, okay? So we need to continue talking to people. Yeah, I saw that I Loves Chickens. Yeah, our own government blocked Glenn Beck's, twice they turned their planes back. They also said that you have to take these people and you can't take these people. And these are private people with private donations just trying to save people and to save American citizens, okay? Okay, I'm going to go on here because this is really good. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. Okay? Do you know what I love about this channel over here, folks? Is as I go through the Bible, I have a much smaller audience. Okay? There's not nearly as many people on over here. But many of you will stick with me through a message like this. I find it interesting that we are at a point where so many of the people within the movement claim God or talk about God, but don't want to take the time to understand his holy word and to listen to his holy word. It is a sad state of affairs when those who call on God or claim to have knowledge, they don't really have any interest in learning the things of God. And I mean, I can be guilty of this too at times, folks, putting too much attention on the news, okay? But if we're going to put attention on the news, which we need to, okay, we need to also then wash ourselves in the Word. Thanks, Cynthia. We need to wash ourselves in the Word because that is the only thing that will keep our mind right about this. It is way too depressing to just take in the news in Afghanistan without an eternal perspective. Way too depressing, okay? And then the other news, seeing what's going on in Australia and so on. I did post, if you're not following me on Locals, it's just Lumberjack Logic on Locals. And if you go over there, I actually shared a video that you're probably going to want to watch. It's not my own video. It was a video by Stu Peters. And there's a direct link to it right there at the top of my Locals page. So go check that out. But we need to... Here, I'm going to give you a warning and encouragement. Make every effort to live in peace with everyone and to be holy. Okay, folks? And I know this is why I don't engage in a lot of the infighting. I am making an effort to live in peace with everyone and to be holy. Without holiness, no one will see the Lord. That does not mean that we don't expose darkness. We are constantly called to expose darkness. But the key is, you got to know. You have got to know. You have got to be so careful. I mean, when you are going to expose darkness and call people out, you have got to know, okay? I mean that with all sincerity. We need to watch ourselves there. See to it that no one falls short of the grace of God and that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble and defile many, okay? If we allow a bitter root based on false assumptions to grow up and destroy many, that would really suck, wouldn't it? Okay. See that no one is sexually immoral or is godless like Esau, who for a single meal sold his inheritance rights as the oldest son. Afterwards, as you know, he wanted to inherit his blessing, but he was rejected. Even though he sought the blessing with tears, he could not change what he had done. I'll leave you with that, folks. I just wanted to cover that quickly. I'm going to get back to work here. I'm going to have to go water the cows, those kinds of things. Make sure they don't get any liver flukes. Please keep praying. And please keep acting, folks. You need to continue to reach out and call, and you need to continue to go one-on-one with people, asking them questions, causing them to think critically. Do not make statements, ask questions, okay? And tell them about Jesus, because, folks, we may be at that juncture in time. We should always be telling about Jesus anyways, but if we're at that juncture in time, we need to tell people about Jesus. And please do hit that like on your way out and leave at least one more comment. Everybody just leave one comment. Say amen or praise God. I love Jesus. You know, there used to be a song, I love Jesus better than ice cream, and ice cream's really good. Shooby-dooby-dooby. I love Jesus better than ice cream, just like I know I should. And even when I don't obey him and do all the things I should, yeah, I love Jesus better than ice cream, and ice cream's really good. There we go. I just deleted Riff Trender. Hail Satan. We're not putting up with that. He's gone, folks. Just gone. All right. I love y'all. You're the best. Peace.